within the same week, I knew she was going to be married. I was going to marry her within the same week. Like, I think it was like 3-4 days later.
It was literally 1 week. It's the people who rent from you.
Or if you have two homes and you live in one, somebody can just walk in legally and you cannot take it
and occupy your living space.
He says, my home is in Spain, is in Galicia. My house is there. You guys can stay there free of charge. And also you can just turn on the car is available. We took the offer and
it really helped us a lot. Too wild.
Good evening and welcome, and happy to hear that you clicked this episode. I'm happy to have this evening an interesting intercultural family that I have never met one like before. I'm happy to welcome Marc and Alenka today in the Whereabouts Tales podcast.
Thank you.
Hello, guys.
Thank you for being here. First, we discussed before pushing the record button, and I have to ask you again because all the emails in all the email communication, you were like Mr. Blashkov, and I always thought, okay, you took your wife's family name, but apparently it's not that thing, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is that we are wedding photographers. I'm a professional wedding photographer, and for the name of Instagram and website, I needed a name. I needed a professional name. My imagination was running low at that point. And I think it was her idea, and her last name always sounded cool to me because it's very unusual to the part of the world where I'm from. And Blashkov sounded good, and the website is blashkov.com. And she says, well, you're Mr. Blashkov now, and I'm Mrs. Guevara because Guevara is my last name.
Okay.
We just interchanged.
But I have to say, I would have expected that Guevara is with a much more attraction than Blashkov is, isn't it? Because of you know who.
To me, yes. That's why I picked his name. And he's like, okay. At that moment, we lived in South America, and something from Eastern Europe, like Slavic last name, sounded exotic.
Correct. True. Okay. Now to go back a bit in the story, because you just mentioned South America, so I think it's interesting. Please, first of all, in the order that you want to, please tell me where you were born and grew up.
Starting with me, because it was a longer story. I was born in Ecuador, in South America. Both of my parents are from Ecuador, and I was born there. When I was 11 years old, a lot of people from my family already lived in the States, like even second generations in the United States. So I moved there. They took me. I was a child, and I lived there with my mom's family. My mom passed away, my biological mom. So I was raised with my aunt, and she lived in Texas. So she was like, this is home. And that's where I grew up. So I felt very American. I felt, I like the sports. I went to school. I went to sports events. Everything was American life. However, I always remember my dad. My dad is in Ecuador, and I used to go visit him. And it was like I just visiting a foreign country. It was beautiful to me, but I never imagined going back to live there, to a place that I barely remember how life was like. And but that happened actually because we met online. This is the part where maybe I let her speak where she's from, because then I was in this side
that
of the world.
Makes sense, yeah.
The other side of the world, and yeah.
Born and raised in Ukraine. And yeah, like I cannot add up more details like you had, like in different countries, different continents and cultures. In a Ukrainian family, I grew up. Happy childhood, happy adolescence, and then I met my husband.
Alenka, look, I'm coming from Romania, so we have a boring life in Eastern Europe. I always talk with my colleagues, and I realize every time that they tell stories. Then I travel there, and No, I was born in my village, raised in my village, and then got married there, and then left together with my wife. So
I thought you were always from Germany.
I'm living in Germany. That's why I
Yeah.
started doing this. I'm living in Germany since 2015 together with my wife. In the
Okay.
meantime, we have a son here, but we are both originally from Romania, so I kind of know the Eastern European culture. Sorry, culture. And I'm also coming from the north side of Romania, so Transylvania. Most probably you know Alenka.
Yeah.
So it's not that far away from Ukraine. Of
Well,
course, not
we're
that
kind of
close, but
neighbors.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So, but guys, first of all, I have to say, Mark, the Texas part really interesting and really interesting life story. I do guess that was not that easy, the American, but like you said, you did all the movies cliches from me at least, the high
Yep.
school prom, the everything that needs to be done there, right? I
Yeah.
think that's cool. And I don't know if Alenka, I don't know if for you the same, but for me was always something that I always dreamed to see, like to see US, to see all those cliches that we've been used to from the movies. We've seen a lot of movies, but that was it for us. So
It's like a dream, like a fairy tale, sort of.
exactly. Now,
Studying
guys,
home.
you no. Sorry for interrupting you. You met when Instagram was a newborn.
Yeah.
I could say the same, right? So can you share a bit how that went?
Well, at this time, I'm on an extended vacation in Ecuador with my father. I'm hanging out. I'm hanging with my dad. I didn't see him for a few years. This time, it's 2014, and I see that some of my friends had Instagram. I downloaded it. About a month later, I love photography. I started putting photos, and I realized that girls putting their hearts in every single one of my photos, which that was unusual because back then that calls your attention. Now, social
You
media,
not even
I
notice.
love it. I love it. What year was that?
2014.
Crazy. I made my Instagram account also somewhere around 13, 14. I do remember what you said. Every follow that you had, you know exactly who the person was, you know exactly what he was doing, you know exactly every like. It's completely different than it is today.
And
Sorry for interrupting you.
he popped up on the recommendations, and it was cute with the hashtag single dad and many of the photos. So it caught my attention, and I thought it was so sweet, like the way they spent time together, him and his son and the family, and it was very warm. At that point, I did not think of creating a family with that
Yeah, because
man.
as you said, it was a hashtag single dad because at that point I have a child from when I was from before, and my kid and me we were together, so I always have pictures with him, but I didn't want people to think that I'm married because I wasn't. I was happy being a dad. And he was with me in Ecuador. So we were both American. We both spoke only English. Oh, he spoke only English, but and it was like a discovery of a new culture as a father and a child. But this time he's like 8 years old or something. And this lady from the other side of the world takes a like on us, and that's how it began. And
So first of all, I have to ask you, Mark, have you had any idea, and be honest, where if you see a globe and someone asked you to point on Ukraine, to pinpoint Ukraine, were you able to do it back then?
well, I love geography. I love
Okay.
yeah, and
Wrong
I mean,
question.
I can tell you
You
flag.
didn't know.
Yeah, you can show me a flag from a place I know where it is. However, I didn't realize how big it was. I didn't realize how big Ukraine was. So yeah,
Nobody, I have to be honest, we are neighbors, I say it again, and I have to say I knew the size of Ukraine because living there, you know the neighbors, you know the size, and you learn in the school, you know that it was Hungary, it was Serbia, Yugoslavia before, because I'm that old, and I know Ukraine and so on, and we knew the size and the population. But everyone was impressed, at least in Germany, when the war started, because nobody was aware of the size of Ukraine. This is so interesting because everyone knew the countries there and so on, but nobody was aware of the size, right? And of the population size. It's impressive.
it is. It is big.
And who sounds kind of cheesy, but I have to ask, who made the first step?
Probably me, because I put likes on
Yeah, that doesn't
like
count
all
as
of the
step.
photos that even
That
made on
that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
hit that.
Who-
Yeah. As soon as I see someone is taking a look at my account, being active, I re- I was thinking, who do I know in Ukraine? And I text, do I know you? She was like, no. And then we
It was
started
some
talking.
comments first, like comments to the pictures. Then it was very innocent.
So we had this long conversation. However, I get a phone call or I get a text message from her, and I never gave her my number or talk at all. So what happens is that I thought she was connected with the police or something or government. How does she know my number? Instagram, it's not public.
No conspiracy theories. No. Okay.
In one of those first pictures that I posted, one of my cousins says, "Hey, I have many cousins, big family," and he says, "Hey, I see you have Instagram. Send me your new number, your Ecuador number, because I only have your old USA number."
And he did in the comments, open to public.
We were all at the beginning back then, so we have to be honest. And besides that, we are from Eastern Europe. We can organize everything, even phone numbers. And how was so the contact? You contact each other, then you had exchange phone numbers. I do guess that was a period when you had a lot of calls and discussions and so on. I don't know. We had WhatsApp back then. I think we had it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys,
when was the first? Please.
You guys use Viber. In Eastern Europe, you use Viber was very popular.
True. Before Telegram was Viber. You are right, because
use Viber.
Yeah.
Really?
So either I had to change to Viber or she had to move to Instagram. And
okay.
WhatsApp, yeah. So I think we did Viber for a while, but that while is only a few days, because within the same week, I knew she was going to be married. I was going to marry her within the same week. Like, I think it was like 3-4 days later.
And what happened? Did you travel to Ukraine? Where did you meet first time?
In person.
I went.
No way.
Yeah. 3 months after we met.
Respect. Okay, and how was the meet?
It was good.
It was better than expected. Of course, you cannot say no.
No, everything's good. Yeah, I married there.
I'm just joking.
It was tiring. I lost my luggage on the way, and because of the layovers and confusion and everything. And it was good.
Yeah. The thing is that unexpectedly, I didn't want to go alone. I took a couple. I took another friends of mine. And in the city that she arrived, unexpectedly, the soccer championship of Ecuador ended up being 2 teams from the same city. So they're fighting that. It was the final night of the tournament of the year, and the hotels were booked, even though I had
You had a reservation, but we arrived after the midnight. So they probably thought that we canceled or we didn't show up or something.
I had a reservation. So we ended up
looking for my luggage.
Yeah, it was all chaotic. We're meeting and it was all chaotic, no luggage. And we ended up sleeping in bunk beds in a big room with several men and women of all ages and, walks of life, because everybody wanted to go to that game that day. And so all my reservations were gone. So she knows zero Spanish. She has no idea what she's trusting completely. My friends, and we were picking her up on a city where I don't live. I don't live in the most dangerous city, probably right now, maybe top 10 dangerous city in the world, Guayaquil. It's called Guayaquil. So she is there. She doesn't know Spanish. I'm her whole life and protector at that point. And now I'm scared myself, because I'm like, where are we going to sleep? This is crazy. It is dangerous.
Okay, we survived that. It was a real life experience. No problem.
But Alenka, what was the family reaction when you told them, you know what, I will just take a small flight? Just just small, like
No, my parents knew since the very beginning that that we met, that he has a child, that he lives in South America, and that we talking online. My parents don't speak English; they don't speak Spanish either. So, like, I had to translate. They saw each other on Skype back then. So, yeah, those times, more than 10 years ago, and it was kind of like all very natural, without stress. They just didn't probably realize right away that I'm going one-way ticket.
That was one-way tickets. Like you went and you...
That's how sure we were.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm kind of wordless. So, so it was literally one-way ticket that you bought.
It was literally one-way ticket.
Yeah.
We were talking for 3 months, pretty intense hours every day. We knew everything about the past and the present of each other. We were talking about plans for the future, likes, dislikes, mistakes, hopes, fears, beliefs, everything. So it was very deep conversations, not like maybe like teenagers would talk, you know.
How old were you guys when you met?
30.
I mean, the perfect time to start directly a serious relationship, to be honest. So,
Really,
and
we want from life.
exactly. I mean, I have to be honest, it's the first internet love story that I hear, and that it really worked out. So
Really?
yeah, I'm so of course you had these crushes. You have things like you see someone, then you crush, and then you start talking and you realize you are far away from each other, like you don't have anything. So you hear all of the stories, or they met like 2 days and they say, okay, those 2 days were so long, so we don't, no, we don't do it. So, but I have to say it's really cool. I mean, it's nice to see that you can still trust people, and I think that's so critical. Of course, we talk about 10 years ago still, or more than 10 years ago, but still I think because one of the biggest problem that we have today, and Marc, I will talk about your home country. I think this untrust that you have and the hate you have between each other, I think it's something that is not natural and should not be like this. And I think to have these examples like yours, when the trust was there, and the trust is also confirmed, not only the trust, like you didn't do anything with the trust, you took it and you confirm it. I think that's amazing, and I think that's something that the world should tell more story like this, because most of the stories that you hear are the one with the bad ending. Let's be honest.
We know that, and we would probably not suggest anyone follow our examples in that, because bad stories are much more common than the ones with a good ending. So you always have to check and double check.
For sure, especially today. I think we are some years later, and we know that there are some things which change, and you have AI which can simulate a voice and can simulate a discussion, and you can sound really friendly and have video, but still I think the trust is important. Like, but I think with 30 you can read someone. I would say with 30 you should be able to read the person on the other line, on the other side of the line. But I don't know how the legal process is, Alenka, but do you need a visa to travel to have back then you needed the visa to travel?
No. Ukrainian, okay. We didn't ask a visa to go to Ecuador.
Okay.
It was easier.
And you stayed in Ecuador? You got married there?
Yeah. A month and a half later.
Crazy. That's crazy. Tell me, Alenka, for you, what was something that you expected? What was something that you didn't expect it from Ecuador?
Since we already mentioned, we talk a lot about everything, about culture, about food, how people are, what is some specifics of the mentality of Ecuador. So I cannot say that I was completely unaware. I have never been to South America before the trip. So obviously it was all new, but it was not new like blind new. And what did surprise me? Obviously the cultural differences exist.
I do I do remember a couple of instances in which she is a very clean person culturally. Ukraine is organized. Ukraine, and everybody kind of is well put together. And I remember she was impressed that going into the public transportation, and there's kids licking the window of the bus, licking the window, looking out, licking
I
the
think their
handles.
immune system is much stronger than ours.
And she could not handle. She said, "They're gonna get sick." I was like, "Don't worry. They've been doing this for ages. Like they were just eating with dirty hands," and that was shocking for her. Street food is big there.
Street food, yeah, that was probably the biggest difference. I mean, the kids licking the bus windows could happen anywhere, but street food, like I'm not used to like having maybe some hot dogs from the little hole in the wall. Like you can find that in Ukraine. Back then, I'm talking about like 12, 13 years ago, maybe, but not like the like actual food. Like people sell food in a little food stands. They do mais asado, how do you say
Corn,
it?
grilled corn.
Or like some meat on a stick. It's like how you can do the on the outside, like how do you wash your hands? How do you eat that? How you're still alive? And a year later, I was eating that food, like no problem.
I have to say, I don't know. I do fully understand you. I have to be honest. Most probably we come from the same side, and we always teach do not eat from the floor. You don't eat from the street. It's dangerous. Don't do that. It's dangerous. I don't know why, but I do understand your opinion. I have to say, sounds really bad now. I would still not eat it because I haven't been in that much time in the culture, but I do fully know what you mean. How long were you in Ecuador? Because you said you got married and you remained there?
8 years.
8 years. Where are you living? Which city?
Right now? Or in
No, in Ecuador. In Ecuador.
Cuenca, Ecuador. Because they have Cuenca in Spain too.
It's a beautiful city in the mountains. It still is probably the safest city in Ecuador at the moment. We had a nice apartment. We grew up in a way, growing up together. And we together knew the country, because remember, I grew up somewhere else, and together we start traveling the country for a while, and it was great. We saw, I think, every province. Maybe we missed one or two states.
Waterfalls, volcanoes, Galapagos Islands, animals, something that I've never seen before. Tropical foods, yeah.
Were you living with family there, Marc, with your side of the family, somewhere close to them?
Yeah, my dad and is there. I have family still there. I have family also in the United States, but the family in Ecuador are still there. They always hang out with us. It was nice to have that support. Some of my family members speak English, but she was pretty much forced to learn Spanish right away, because to go places, for everything, for everyday life, Spanish was necessary.
Now, Alenka, I have to ask you, have you had telenovelas in Ukraine, or was something that we only had in Romania?
In the beginning of 90s, yeah.
Yes.
The rich ones also cry, something like that. Or like
exactly. Salome, the rich are crying. Yes, you're right. And was
Maria.
Yeah, crazy. We actually had the same. Did it help with your Spanish?
Not really, because I never watched them in the original. They were translated straight into Russian.
They were dubbed. They were dubbed. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we had it in. So my wife is able to understand Spanish only because of telenovela. So we had them. We usually have them with subtitles, and when you watch a lot, like me, you get them in your head. And of course,
I came to Ecuador just knowing how to say that I love you and I'm hungry.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely. I have the advantage. We have the advantage, of course. The Romanian language is close to the Spanish one because of the Latin heritage, and that's why most of the words. So we do joke that sometimes you just add an S to the Romanian words and you are close to the Spanish one, and not, of course, a joke, but we are not that far away. What triggered what triggered you to leave from Ecuador? You moved from Ecuador to the States?
No, we were fine in Ecuador until the war began. Ukraine, when it was attacked by Russia, then we decided it was better to be with closer to her family, to her mom and dad. That because of their age, they could not leave Ukraine, and we wanted to be closer to them. We did not make the move straight to Ukraine, obviously, because of the war, but we making decisions as to we should go to what country. And Spain was always a top choice because all the times that
We
came,
spoke the language already. We love the culture in Spain, and we thought it might be a good place for my family if they decide or will be able to leave Ukraine to also come to a safer country.
Okay, so you moved from Ecuador directly to Spain.
Correct.
That's a. Please tell me how was the move, because I'm pretty sure it was funny.
it was we felt that we never gonna leave Ecuador before the war. We were comfortable. We were okay. We had a nice house. We lived by the mountains. Our kid already was, used to it.
And friends and family, everything. Like we were established there.
So we were wondering how are we gonna sell everything? We were attached to a lot of our things, furniture and stuff. And I put a post in Instagram that I was selling things, but someone replied and said, I'm interested, not for me, but I have some friends that are moving into Cuenca. Let me put you in touch with this American couple. So the American couple was like, well, they're very interested on our home, our things. And I had to make videos, several videos. I had to measure everything, the homes, the items. And they bought absolutely everything except a pot, like this electric pot.
Instapot.
So somehow they didn't want the pot. I don't know what was it.
Teapot also as well.
Yeah. And that made the move so much easier.
Yeah.
And getting rid of all our things was very difficult. It was very difficult.
I figure out for myself that it's not the material value of things because, you can regain them, but it's emotional attachment to things. Coming from Ukraine, where I was born and grew up and lived all my life in the same place, like it was so stressful for me. Well, besides the move from Ukraine to Ecuador, but now like we already for 8 years established there and having our family stuff, including cats. This is one of our Ecuadorian cats that traveled with us from Ecuador to Spain. It was hard, emotional attachment to say bye-bye to your things. It's your bed, it's your pillow, it's your blanket. You just, I don't know. I never thought that I would be so emotionally attached to some material things. But in reality, in a week or two, you forget about that. You get an improvement on your fine. Mm-hmm.
I think it's somehow a combination. I do fully agree with you. I think it's somehow a combination between material attachment and also the emotional one, because you build something together. I think that was the thing that attach you. It's attaching you from the things. So okay, I would say that was a big luck that you had there. I don't, of course, not purely luck, but also, it saved you a lot of effort on your side to work around to sell things and so on. How was the apartment hunting in Spain?
Oh, very hard.
Terrible.
Hard.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, because it's very hard to find one. And when you find one, the requirements are things that newcomers don't have.
Look, I understood very quick, and I was so shocked. I was so really very quick, and then I realized you said very hard.
Well,
I'm
very
sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
For months. Months.
Yeah, they're asking the requirements to rent are not, those requirements are impossible for a foreigner because you don't have a history of working here. You don't have a history. of payrolls or contributing to the social security of Spain or nothing like that. So how do you gonna do it?
And another thing is problem with Ocupas here in Spain. The people who come and rent from you if you're the owner of the place, and then just suddenly they stop paying. And if they have kids, especially, or they are like elderly or something, you, according to the law, you cannot kick them out of your own place. And you have to keep on paying electricity and internet bills and everything while those strangers live in your apartment, and they're protected
No,
by the law. And if you bring like someone stronger to kick them out, then they will go sue you and you will end up in the court.
so if you own an apartment and you had the owners have kids, you cannot kick them out if they don't pay you.
If the people who rent from you, yeah.
Or if you have two homes and you live in one and the other one is a vacation home, or it's somehow you don't go that often, so which is empty, somebody can just they walk in legally and you cannot take them out.
And occupy your living space.
This
And
is wow.
like in Spain. So that explains a lot, like why it's so hard to rent a place here, especially for foreigners who like are unknown on the territory of Spain yet, like how the owner of the place can trust you as much as they will entrust you their apartment to you.
And especially it's coming from a different country, makes sense. You have no history in anything. They have no idea what you do. You don't, I have to say also most probably they ask you where you come from. You said Ecuador. They were also not like impressed. Like if they would say, I don't want to be mad, but I think there is a prejudice here when they say, okay, it's not US, it's not a rich country, it's just a normal country. And then they think, but for sure they don't have money. And that's not so cool.
We register on 2 or 3 different platforms for rentals, and we got about, I would say 80 to 90 requests that we were sending out. We're explaining that
to see the place.
Okay, financially we're able to pay a rent, and we can work anywhere. At this point, it was not about where we're gonna live; it's about where we can live, where we're gonna go. And so at this point, we already have a car. We sold our car in Ecuador. We bought a car here, so we were able to move and see different neighborhoods. But it was not our choice where.
But remember what worked for our place? It was just our friends were helping us. Like everybody that we knew, like they were trying to put in their WhatsApp status that this family from Ecuador, they're looking for an apartment. So it was just from the regular platform for rentals here in Spain, Idealista, the owner of the place, when they replied to our request to see their apartment, we sent the description of our family, and we sent our also social media for them to see like who we are, what we do.
Because on these platforms, you have to try to sell yourself, as far as you have to put a photo of who you are. But I went the extra mile. I put a whole paragraph of who we are. I put links to our website, to our social media, so they understand what kind of work we do. And this person, which is the owners of this home, they went into it.
I like your vibe.
I like your vibe. I saw your social media. I saw your Instagram, and yeah, come check out the place.
We were the first ones to see the place,
and it's a very decent. It's a very nice place. Everything is in good light, good, perfect location. And we have transportation. We have a big park across the street. It was right by the amount that we wanted to pay, and so yeah, we live here, and we don't know until when, because maybe we move to Romania or something.
I can give you some good tips.
I have relatives in Romania.
Sorry?
I have relatives in Romania.
Really? Where?
Bucharest.
Ah, okay. I'm from Cluj, from around Cluj, so on the other side. You have family that went from Ukraine after the war started, or you have someone living there?
My mom has a sister that married ages ago, a guy from Moldova, so they lived in Chisinau. And one of my cousins eventually moved to Romania. Yeah, she married there.
It's so interesting to talk about your home city, home country with someone that is living on the other side of the world. So, yeah, guys, you decided on the city before you left Ecuador, so you knew exactly in which city you're gonna go in Spain.
Kind of. We were leaning towards Valencia since the beginning because we heard a lot of beautiful things about the place. Our friends recently moved to the city and they were suggesting, they say like they made their own investigation and like the climate is good, the criminal situation is safe enough. And we only knew Barcelona and Madrid back then as tourists. Valencia didn't know much about, but it caught our attention.
Can I ask you why not Barcelona or Madrid then?
Too big, Barcelona too criminal, unfortunately, too touristic, too expensive.
Okay, that's thank you. That was really a good argumentation. A few words.
Love Barcelona and Madrid too, but to live, it's different. To live in those places is different than to be just a tourist.
Okay, makes sense. Do you have the feeling in the previous episode that I have had with the Gonzalez, that you most probably know from Valencia? They let's say the feedback in the comments was not the best one, because exactly in the same direction, that people are moving a lot in Valencia and like it's in fashion. Do you have the feeling that somehow is getting busier since the first time when you came?
So yeah, I think so. I think rent have gotten higher and more people are moving. Somehow it became popular quick.
It's big enough. It's third major city in Spain. Just like Barcelona, Valencia is on the beach, but it's big enough to be like a real city where people live and work, not just they come for beach vacation. So it's nice and beautiful, safe, a lot of entertainment, a lot of sport events, lot of festivals here. A lot of people with families with kids, they come and move here. It's pretty safe. I mean, certain little things, friends obviously happen, but overall, we're talking about a very solid place. It's good.
It was interesting because it was the first time that we were together in a new culture for both of us. Because this is the first country that we live in that we don't have family. So together, but this time she already knew Spanish. It was good, and we together adjusted well, I think.
I think so too.
Do you? How was the settle down process? The registration process, bank account opening, and so on? Do you have the feeling it went smooth or it was complicated?
Smooth. I would say smooth.
Easier than I thought. I mean, the thing is that having a different perspective on things, Ecuador specifically, that everything lags, everything takes forever, everything is corrupted, and you feel that you cannot really do things the right way. You have to pay somebody under the table for things to happen. You have to, things will just all run down, and it's not easy. So having that perspective and being ready for things like that, coming to Spain, even though some things may lag,
it also takes forever to sorry to mention that, the bureaucracy and like paperwork for anything. You need an appointment, and it's impossible to find an appointment online.
Yeah.
I like you guys. I like the positivity. I like the fact that the end is important what you are comparing it with. I always said, and I think it's important. Like Marc, when you mentioned the corruption and the bribery and money, I thought you talk about Romania. But okay, I mean.
Yeah, I always try to see the bright side of things.
Exactly. I think it's important to say bright side. My colleagues in Germany are always constantly complaining about the train systems in Germany, which, of course, is not perfect. There are some delays here and there. But man, you have no idea what it means. I talked to colleagues and I said, you have no idea what actually means a train to have a delay. You have no idea how is it to be in the train station and they tell you, we have no idea where the train is because we lost contact with them, so we don't know when it's going to come. So you might as well go home. So when you hear something like this, you realize what exactly a delay, not 10 minutes, not 15. No, please. No, just don't complain. I think it's a matter of perspective always, right?
Same. I feel the same with Spanish people. That a lot of them complain because they're comparing it to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, that Spain back then. However, people that have traveled, people that have gone to Latin America or Africa, most of them are pretty content with the way things run here.
I think it's Marc, I see this nostalgia everywhere. I see the fact that everyone is missing 20 years ago, it was always better. So everyone that you asked, they said, yeah, no, everything was better. They talk also in Romania about the fact that in communism was much better, everything was amazing. And I think most of the times is the youth nostalgia. Everybody wished to be young again. And I think they think about those times that was so good, but most probably it was because they were younger and they could enjoy life in a different way. I think somehow that's the reason why they say, no, everything was better back then. No. Even the food was, when I hear this discussion in Romania, the food was better. Like if you read some documents from the Communist Party, you are going crazy what we ate, right? Of course, we survived. It's okay. But you cannot say it was better. Mm-hmm. You have a different memory of the situation, but I don't think it was better. And I think it's just a matter of perspective. When you come from a country that you didn't had it so good, when you move to a country that is better, you just don't understand anyone who's complaining. Like, shut up.
And I think to be more safe and have inner peace, it's probably better not to compare this new home country with your original home country or the place that you live most of the time, because it's just different places. And if you want to be happy or happier in the new place, you just need to assimilate with the culture and just accept it with what it is. You cannot change people and culture that they have for ages here. And if you're a newcomer in a new place, you probably need to make some adjustments.
I think this, and as well the fact that nobody, I always say nobody invited me to come to Germany. Nobody said, please come, we need you here. No, it was my decision. And then I think it's hard to come here and complain about this and that and that. No, I decided to enjoy what's here. They have a different culture, they have different habits, they have different humor. In the meantime, I managed to understand their humor as well. But there is also a different humor because they laugh at different jokes. They're different, but like you said, you come here, you accept the culture, you learn the language, because that's also a sign of respect, right? When you move somewhere, the sign of respect is to learn the language. The apartment hunting, you said it was awful. Did you live in an Airbnb before, I would guess, right?
No.
And again, Instagram. Well, turns out that in Ecuador, we met. I went from Spain. Years before, family, years before. And we were friends. He took a like on us. We were kind of in touch once in a while. And I posted on Instagram that I would move into Spain and I would like to rent a place, an Airbnb. I was ready to...
For the first month to see like where we end up, like to see offers, whatever it is.
And this man text me and he says, well, I met you years ago. Do you remember me? And I did. He was like, he lives in Ecuador and his home is in Spain. He says, my home is in Spain, is in Galicia, in the
rural town,
in the rural north, the north point, the northest part of Spain. And he says, my house is there. You guys can stay there free of charge. Oh, and also my car. You can just turn on the car. The car is available. Imagine that. And we took the offer and
it really helped us a lot.
It's incredible because I crossed the words with this man for maybe 10 minutes once and then few messages throughout the years. So we arrived in Madrid airport, 2 cats, 5 bags, 3 people, knew everything new from zero. We only knew the language, fortunately. We rented a vehicle. It was packed with all our bags. We headed to Galicia. That's where he lived, in the rural area. All I had, it was a coat, to get to retrieve the keys and the picture of the house. And that's it. And we
It
drove.
was beautiful.
We drove, and it was beautiful. It was a nice home that I'm surprised it was empty back then.
Someone should make a movie about that.
Yeah, we arrived. It was by forest. It was rainy. Here we're listening to some soft music. It was a new beginning. 2 cats. The cats are like been flying with us since from South America. Our kid is with all this luggage in front of him. I mean, it was our home was that. That was home. This vehicle, this rental car. We arrived in the home, and I was thinking, what if this code doesn't work? What if I click the buttons? I still remember that it was 1924. The code was. I pushed the button, and it opened. And
The typical locker, like they would do for Airbnb.
yeah, but it was free of charge. It was a nice home, cold because nobody was there for a long time. We arrived, we went to the groceries immediately, we unload, and that's how our life began. Then we start searching for apartments from there and turned on the heater, watched the mountains, and that was
Our first month.
first
month
Day
in
one.
Galicia, day one was there.
Mhm,
And a month later, we ended up already in Valencia.
mhm.
But that's an interesting story. So you would not say you were friends with that guy, right? You exchanged some words.
Well, once he offered, I needed to see him on Zoom to make sure he's for real. Eh, well, no, like you giving us an offer. That sounds weird, a little weird. So, anyway, we saw him on Zoom. We see him on Zoom several times, well, a couple times. And I remember the thing is that he's following our almost daily posts on Instagram, so he knows who we are. But we didn't know much who he was.
It's so interesting.
We
Please
became
go on.
friends with his family, and they came and stayed. Him and his wife came to stay in our place in Valencia with their parents.
That was last year. We were able to repay the favor. He wanted to have a little weekend vacation in Spain, in Valencia. He came with another couple, so it was 4 of them. And I was so glad that we were able to somehow repay the favor. They're home. We cooked for them. We hang out, and now we're friends.
It's crazy when you think about it, because it makes sense, don't get me wrong, but it's crazy when you think about it. It says, I offer you my house for free, but can we have a call? I want to see your face. Because it's like but makes absolute sense. I do understand why you did it. Makes total sense. How was the first? So the first question: do you ever had the impression that you are talking a different Spanish than the Spanish in Spain?
Yeah, at first, especially
me. So I was learning my Spanish in the Latin country, and coming here, it's like they use different pronunciation. They use different words and expressions, like again from zero almost.
But Marc, for you, was easier?
Well, I was more familiar with the Spanish from Spain a little bit, so I needed to adjust some words. I still think on English, I think. Man, when I speak Spanish, I have to make an effort to put different words for the Spanish people when I go to weddings or when I'm talking to people.
And it's not that we disconnected from Latin country, because like you still have part of your family over there in Ecuador, and now like we have friends here, and like your mind switches.
Yeah.
In between the languages.
No, you must adjust, just like you said. I mean, nobody invited me to move here. I wanted to, so you adjust, and they understand that I'm not from here. That's one thing. Like when I lived in the United States, listen to this. I can go to New York and tell them, oh, I'm from Texas, and that was fine. Conversation continues, and they accepted me as from Texas. And when I traveled through Spain, and I'm in Madrid, and I tell them I'm from Valencia, they're like,
what are you like, for real?
Where really are you from? Because in Spain, they have a set physical look, perhaps. So a person that looks obviously Asian cannot say that he's from Barcelona, because they will immediately ask, No. So where are your parents from? Where are your grandparents from?
Where you born?
And in the United States, that doesn't go. I mean, I can go to Los Angeles and say that I'm from Texas or New York, and that's it. They take it as it is. Not here.
That's an interesting perspective. I think it's interesting social perspective because I know what you mean. So it's not about me, but I have a lot of colleagues which so Germany has a big history of immigration somewhere in the 60s, 70s when they need a lot of working power, and a lot of Italians and people from Turkey came into the country, and because of this, you have a lot of Italian heritage. That's why we have really good Italian restaurants, because they are made by Italians, not by locals. This on the side, but also a lot of guys from Turkey, and I see it in you. Of course, you see it in the names. There are Italian names, Turkish names, and sometimes even now, even though they are born here, or maybe also the parents are born here, not only they are also always asking, "So where are you from?" And they said, "I don't know. I'm from München." Yeah, but where are you actually from? I was born in München. Yeah, but where are your parents from? And this discussion goes on always. Like, but it's interesting that this is not happening in the US. But I think the multiculturality is different there, right?
Yeah, and it's very important when you marry someone from a different culture to be open-minded on that, because if I were to be just in Ecuador and I never left, I think it would be issues in my relationship, because I will expect maybe for her to cook for me 3 times a day, to cook specific meals filled with rice in every meal, things like that. So, however, I'm not like that. I grew up in the States. I think I'm closer to the Mexican culture as far as food wise and food inclination. And
Uh, Whichever is the case, the traveling expands your mind, your horizons. You're more flexible in your expectations towards other people and your marriage mate too in the future.
Mark Twain said that travel is the cure to prejudice. And this is something which I keep repeating. I read it once. I think it's so deep and so short and so correct. I mean, travel is opening your mind. Travel is making you understand that your village is not the whole world, that your city is not the whole world, and also that you're not the most important person in the world. And there are things happening with or without you. And I think it gets you down to earth travel, because you realize, in this huge world where I am, I'm this, so I have to somehow try to be happy for myself, because the others don't really care about my happiness. Like, I do it for me.
okay.
And I think that's important. Mark, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but would you mind sharing your 2 cents about the events happening in the US at the moment?
I follow the news daily, every day. I try to see unbiased news, nothing that will incline to either one of the political parties or the other. And it's just sad. I think the social gaps are brightening, and they're getting just stronger. Um, I cannot move back to the States. I don't think I can, and I want. For many reasons. I still love it. I still follow sports. I love my family there. I still miss some places. But as far as to go take my family there, it'll be very complicated. Politically, I'm neutral. However, it's damaging to the people for them not to be
Big
tolerant.
social issue.
Yeah, big social issues there.
I'm a huge fanboy of US. I had the advantage to go there 5-6 times because of work. I work in a big company for which I have done some business trips there. I was there three times already in holiday with my family, and I have to say it's really sad what's happening. It's for me sad as well. I love that country. I think that I will be living there sometime in my life, at least 6 months, just to experience it. But it's interesting how we are fighting other people's fights. This is my feeling, at least, that the normal people are fighting someone else's fights, and this I do see this. So I follow the news from US exactly from the same idea. I do like that country. I'm a subscription payer of the New York Times. I'm reading a lot of things because I'm interested. I'm interested in what's happening there, and I'm sad because it's the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, which is exactly what you said, and this is what I see as well. So it's so sad, but yeah, let's see what will happen this year in November. I think everybody's expecting November like Jesus for the second time.
Yeah, elections.
Yeah, for the midterms. You watched the Super Bowl?
I watched the highlights. My team did not make it, so after.
And they started too late. Like,
Well, yeah, the times. I love this. I watched the whole halftime the next day and the highlights. But no, I was devastated when my team did good. Step away, yeah, just like 2 games away from Super Bowl. So.
Do you miss the football atmosphere from the US? The like I have the feeling that somehow the 3 hours before the game and 3 hours after the game they still talk about the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I'm from a big college town, Austin, Texas. So that's where the Texas Longhorns play. So people usually they even say hi like this, showing your fingers like with the horns. The stadium is bigger than professional stadiums. People that go carries more fans than professional teams sometimes. So yeah, I miss that. I miss the food. I miss people, friends.
I still miss Chipotle. So
Chipotle, right?
So I'm still there. Alenka, do you go to Ukraine every once in a while, or have you been?
3 times a year I go there. Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you in which part of Ukraine is your family living?
Lviv, close to Poland.
I know it. Yeah. Okay. So let's say a bit far away from the danger. I would dare to say it like this. Not out of danger, but a bit far away from danger.
Yeah, comparing to other places, of course, not as much damage on the city itself. They do have like the consequences is electricity shortages and some inconveniences, but not as much danger as other places.
Yeah. Have you tried to convince your parents to move out?
Of course. Even when we were in Ecuador, before we decided to move to Spain, we were like talking to them, at least because we didn't know for how long it's going to last. So we asked them to come to Ecuador, at least for some time, at least for a few months. But it's hard when people getting older already, like they feel that they are rooted there. And to come to another country, continent, new culture, learn the language when they're in their 70s, it's a big thing. So they feel safer in their little place, even like when like the shaheds, rockets passing by, but they feel like, oh, it's my place. Like here I buy bread, here I go buy milk, and like it's my community here. So yeah.
Of course, it's hard to move everyone where they live their whole life in one place. I think that makes it easier for us when we say, okay, we can move to another place because you are not grounded. You switch already, and it's not the end of the world. Like you said before, like it takes 1 week and then you forget about it. So and then you move on. But I think it's hard, and I do understand. I do understand them completely. You have the feeling of safety in your own home, like you said, and I think it's a pity that someone is able to take it from you by invading a different country in the 21st century. It's unbelievable. I think it's something that nobody thought is possible. Marc, you already said that most probably Spain is not going to be the last station.
Where are we going?
Is it a thought in your head, or you? Because I'm telling you from my perspective, I'm always thinking, you know what? Sky's the limit. I don't really care. As long as I have my family, my wife, and my kid with me, I don't care in which country I live. Do you have the same feeling, or you have already something in your head?
No, definitely. As long as I have my wife, my kid, cats, even with us, I can feel home. It's just us, not a geographical location. I mean,
Home is a feeling.
yeah. I mean, this city is very nice. It's very pretty. It's all they're happy here. And when I see them happy, then as the head of the household in a way, as a man, whatever, it's working for now. But I do feel them. If Spain will be the future, perhaps maybe in a rural area, in a town, maybe within outside the city limits, perhaps. Mhm.
And of course, we're considering some situations due to like my family situation. My father is getting older and older. Your father, and depending how situation will be developing. Like if one of our parents will need help, that might be another move as well.
You mentioned the rural area in Spain, Mark, and I always like to ask a question because it's so interesting how you get different answers from different area of Spain because you are living in a city now. I had someone who lived in a rural area in a small city, and they said the biggest impact on their life was the fact that everything was dead between 12 and 2 in the midday. I don't want to call it siesta because everybody will complain, but do you see this in Valencia?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna have a meal or have activities around 4 p.m., you may not find a restaurant or you may not find nothing open. But if you go around 8, 9,
Stores reopen like around 5.
yeah, and midnight, I've seen kids playing football in my neighborhood and old people walking around like nothing, playing games or yeah, it's that type of culture.
I always like to talk with my German colleagues when they are coming from holiday from Italy or Spain because here the kids are sleeping at 7 p.m. or 6 or 7 p.m. and they go there and say, we went to a restaurant, it was 10 p.m. and all the kids were there. Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
It's
Some
a cultural
open
thing.
8, 9, they just open it.
That's right. Yeah.
But do you think it's a second effect of the heat, the fact that they open so late?
It could be, well, it's not like it's hot, but it's nice. Besides that, we are in the same time zone as you guys, even though we're supposed to be in a different time zone because some political things that happened in the past. So it gets darker much later, especially in summer. So the days are longer. Sometimes the days are longer.
But at the same time, I think heat plays the role. Half a year, it's like very hot, like noticeably hot. And during the peak of the day, you cannot do anything. So people just go to sleep.
Which makes a lot of sense, if you ask me. I still I have a thing with my kid as well because every time when it's summer, like usually he goes to sleep somewhere between 8 and 9, so let's say in the winter. But in the summer, it's I even so I know most probably I'm a bad father, but I cannot tell him at 8:30 go to sleep. It's full light outside still, is the day still on, so I feel like like how can I send him now to sleep? Like let him enjoy the light. Anyhow, we don't have a sun here. It's from November to March, so we try to get as much as possible in the summer.
Yeah. How old is he?
He's 7. He's gonna be 8 this year, so it's still the time when he still likes me.
Oh, that's
So-
good. Yeah, I understand. I know that.
How old is yours?
He turned 20.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. He doesn't like me as when he was 7 anymore.
So you know what I meant, right?
Yeah, totally.
He's still happy when I come home, which is really nice. So
Right.
guys, I'm so happy that I got to know you. We are not done, but I always
Come to
like to say
Valencia.
sorry.
Come to Valencia.
We will. We have it in plan. So I will be, to be honest, I'll be next weekend in Madrid. No, the next weekend, so on the 21st of February, but only with some friends because we are doing this Mammoth March, which is happening in Madrid. I don't know if you know, it's a 50 kilometers walk.
Oh, cool.
And we plan to come to Spain this year, so most probably will be in Valencia. So I'm talking to the Gonzalez family, talking to you, and I had another couple from Valencia as well. And you made me want to come to Valencia, even though I don't know, except the football team, the soccer team, but the soccer team, I don't know anything about Valencia. But I love it, and I'm pretty sure we'll be there this summer, 100%. So
Sounds good.
We will enjoy it.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'm happy that I get to meet you. Usually before I finish, I have some rapid fire question, I call them, but I try to avoid to call them rapid fire because they are never rapid fire. And they are somehow tailored on the guest. So I will try to start with yours. Do you think that if Instagram would not exist, would you still be here?
No.
I think so. No.
That's a nice one. I did expect it the other way around, but I like this one better now. Alenka, what do you think that, most probably it's a bit of an unfortunate question now, but what do you think that Ukraine did better than Spain before the war started?
What they did better?
Yes. As a culture, as a country, you can choose whatever you want.
You know, talking as a girl, I can say that everything around beauty area, it's much more organized and more sleek in Ukraine and post-Soviet countries. Others too.
For salons, you mean?
Yeah, hair treatments, nails, beauty, fashion style, like here I think you can Lithuania. Or even services, you know, restaurants, food, the atmosphere that they create. This is something that Spain is a little bit behind. With all my love to Spain.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm very observant. I'm a wedding photographer, so I observe details. And in Ukraine, I think every girl, her nails are done, her hair is flawlessly perfect, and they're dressed nice as much as they can afford. They're well put together. In Spain, I mean, all humans are beautiful. However, not well kept as far as nails.
Maybe less attention to
Yes,
physical parts.
I have to say now that you elaborated on that, now I understand what you mean. And I have to say I have seen this cultural difference between Romania and Germany as well. And I don't know if it's a thing from a Western culture. I don't know as well. I have no actual explanation for this, but I realized that as well. Yeah, that's an interesting fact. Marc, you are a wedding photographer. Where was it easier? Was it in Ecuador or it is in Spain easier?
Well, in Ecuador, I was an international wedding photographer because most of my couples were mixed cultural, as far as Americans with Ecuadorians mostly. I mean, even Austria and American, and because we lived in a city with many foreigners. However, as far as if I'm talking about Ecuadorian people, the culture, they're a little more shy. So it was hard to get them out of their shell to be comfortable in front of the camera. In Spain, I find that easier. I find that they're used to seeing the camera. They used to be taking photos.
They're
They
just more relaxed.
to go to festivals and they as kids. So they're more relaxed in front of the camera for my style of photography.
Okay, that means it was easier in Spain. That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Alenka, who is more punctual, you or Marc?
Marc.
That's a surprise coming from a Spanish culture. That's okay. That's a big surprise. Marc, does Alenka knows the real value of your photo equipment?
Of the photo equipment. Yeah, the thing is that
I have my own camera.
I'm a wedding photographer, but it's two of us. It's two of us.
So you're doing it together.
Yeah, we do it together. We always did it together. So she starts with the bride, and she stays with the bride and taking all details. I go with them, with the husband, with the groom, and
I'm taking care of the budget.
and
Okay, so
Yeah, although I am the main photographer, she edits. She's the editor. So if you go to my Instagram or to our website, those are her edits, her style as far as color grading and details. And the composition is mine and the photos is mine. But yeah, she's also great.
Thank you.
You made me somehow curious, Mark, and I have to ask you, how did you started with photography? What was the starting? What was your first camera?
Instagram.
Really?
No, my first camera was with my uncle gave me a camera when I was a kid in the States.
But when it
In
started
the-
like a photography.
Oh, okay.
I was referring to a friend that contacted us through Instagram, and he asked us to take pictures of his wedding in Ecuador, and we were not photographers at the moment yet. He just said, like, I like your Instagram style. If you can do my wedding in the style that you do your Instagram pictures, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And we had, at the moment, we had like semi-professional camera, Sony, and that's what we started.
We should have Sony, and I had a Sony camera. This is already when we were adult. I mean, we're married already. We've been taking the wedding photos for 8 years now. This is our 8th year on weddings.
Mhm.
So we took our first wedding, again, American with Ecuadorian. That was like my typical mix. And it was at the beach. It was beautiful. But between both of us, we have one small camera with one lens
We
and
were
one
sharing the
GoPro.
ideas.
Mamma mia, it was heavy. Now we have really good equipment. We're top of the line. Sony, she has her own equipment. I have my own, so we're fully all out.
I think the important thing in all of this, because I have an Instagram account also because I like photography. That was something which I my first camera I bought a Nikon D3200.
Okay.
So it was really it was the beginning of the DSLR cameras. But I have to say this is something I enjoy doing a lot. I was I never got to be not even semi-professional, but I enjoy doing it a lot on private. I still do it unprofessional with the iPhone, but I still like it.
Yeah. It's okay, no problem. I was going to tell you, I'm going to send you, because you have our family account, the Life of Lashkovs. But
Yes.
I will send you my work, Mr. Lashkov, Mr.Lashkov is the work account, and that's all weddings. I mean, is our work.
Oh, by the way, I will link everything that all your social media in the show notes caption for anyone who wants to see them, because I think it's a nice experience. I only have your family account, right? I didn't know you had a private account.
Yeah, we have a photography weddings account.
Oh, a photography account.
Yeah.
Guys, I have a cheesy question at the end. One of the because I think it's the cheesiest one that I asked, but I think I really want to know if your life would be a movie title, how would it be called?
It'll be called The True Wild.
I like it.
If that was spontaneous and you haven't thought about it, I have to say, really good.
Well, expect the unexpected.
I mean, what woman sees a man on the internet from the other side of the world, packs her bags, and in just a few short weeks buys a wedding dress, goes to the other side of the world, one-way ticket, and stays. And in my end, I mean, I understand that she's coming to me, so I have to be prepared. So I had a ring ready. I had an engagement ring ready, and she came with her wedding dress, and that's how we met.
Too wild.
Too wild.
This is just crazy. It's crazy. That's the only thing I can say. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed a lot talking to you. I enjoyed a lot the time.
Yes.
I think you are a hope for me, because I'm a guy who's really giving his trust away really fast, and I was a lot disappointed because of this. A lot. And I have to say, every time when I see someone or when I see a story like yours, it kind of gives me courage. Also for my son, because I'm in the process of trying to give him what's the best for him, and I really have to tell you, I don't know what's the best. I don't know if I should teach him to be an asshole, I'm sorry for my French, or if I should teach him to be nice and kind with everyone, because that will come back. Because living in the crazy world that we are living today, you don't know what's better for his future. But seeing stories like you, it kind of gives me hope back. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you,
Much
Paul.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
enjoyed.
And I hope to see you sometimes in real life when we are in Valencia.
Sounds
Who knows?
Good. Sounds good. I'll send you an email with our socials and
And
stuff.
we'll go on a
Do
photo
that.
trip.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
that would be nice. That would be nice. That would be nice. You know the places, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
All
See you in the
right.
next one. Bye.